Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Now, bear with me here, because this is a completely impromptu video. Wasn't planned, had no intention, it's something which has literally just jumped into my head. You see, when I was doing today's video, which was the ratings fall further for Doctor Who with the second episode of Spyfall, I decided to watch the show, and the second part was just some woke drivel for the sake of attempting to be progressive and patting themselves on the back, aren't we so wonderful? And it was cheap, and it was tacky, and it's pathetic, and the episode was god-awful. And so I was just around here doing some tidying. I'm trying to get stuff a little bit less cluttered and a bit nicer for you. And it just jumped into my head. Oh my God, remember, they announced a Buffy reboot. And so I thought, I've got to try and find some further news about this. I haven't heard anything. I can't even remember when the announcement was made, because everything just mills into one with me now. I thought that the announcement was about March of this year, something along those lines. But it was the 21st of July of 2018, so nearly a year and a half ago. And all we heard was Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot is in the works with a black lead. They were very specific about that. And Joss Whedon is involved. I don't think Joss Whedon is involved. I think he's had like a couple of conversations with the new showrunner, and that's pretty much as far as it goes. But that's all we heard. Now, there wasn't a particularly favourable reaction to this. Now, is it because the whole world's racist? Yes. No, of course it isn't. There was a couple of things. First of all, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a beloved series. I loved Buffy. I absolutely adored the show. Thought it was wonderful. Never missed an episode. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It was must-see TV back in... I think it started in 97. I might be wrong, but I think it started in 97 and finished in 2003? Something like that. So it's, 17 years old since it finished, the show. But I wouldn't miss it for the world. I loved the love affair between Buffy and Angel, and then Buffy and Spike, and, you know, it dealt with some things. Now, I think one of the reasons why I really kind of gravitated to a show like Buffy, and, again, we can use Smallville as an example here, is because it was about growing up. Both of these series were about growing up. So it really appealed to your adolescent audience, your teenagers, your adolescents, and then young adults. It really appealed to that demographic because there was so much that you could see. And what the show did is it manifests your own struggles and trials and all that kind of stuff physically. So in Buffy, you've got vampires and monsters and all that kind of stuff. In Smallville, you've got meteor freaks, and later on, when they run out of ideas, you got the DC Universe villains just getting thrown at Clark. But it was about growing up. Ultimately, both shows were about growing up from a teen to adolescence to becoming an adult. And so there was just a lot there that we could appreciate and gravitate towards. Those are good themes. They're relatable themes for a young and 20-something, and it even went into the 30s as well, audiences. So there was the fear of having that tarnished. And also, because the only information we received was reboot, black lead, it also had the stink of we're just literally diversifying for the sake of diversifying. And something like that is coming from the wrong place, because you're piggybacking off something which has an established fan base, etc., etc. You're not creating anything new yourself. You're being lazy with the reboot, and you're diversifying it for the sake of being diverse. So those were the fears. But I had to search around, and I found the latest news that I possibly could. And this comes from the end of September of last year, again from Digital Spy, which is a tat, I know, but, you know, let's hear what they've got to say. It's going to be very eye-opening. And so it's about 3.5 months old or so. And the headline is, Buffy Reboot, air date, okay, cast, plot, trailer, and everything that you need to know. You got me, Digital Spy. Let's go balls deep. So it gives a little bit of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is written by a 3-year-old, so it's, you know, bear with them. They're just learning. They're just learning. Then we get this... So, with the current crop of millennials all having their own difficulties, what better time to introduce a rebooted Slayer ready to face off against an evil mutant hypnotist who's an allegory for influencers? Or a Frankenstein's monster that stops you from getting Wi-Fi? Hilarious stuff. But they do mention one thing. What better time to introduce a rebooted Slayer? A lot of people, including myself, said at the time, why don't they just create a new show with a new Slayer instead of stealing Buffy? 20 years later, pretty much 20 years later, a little bit over, since the start of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the series, yes, I know there's a film, before anyone gets involved in that, and that was Joss Whedon as well. Why don't you do, hello, the world's 20-something years older. This is the new Slayer. The new Slayer is born, whatever, you know, because the last Slayer died. Or Buffy. Don't know, because Buffy's already died, so there have been another string of Slayers. It's complicated. Why can't they just do that? Now, yes, it is still a bit lazy, because it's still kind of taking from that universe, but at least you're taking the ideas from that universe, in as much as you're taking the Slayer idea and the once a generation being born kind of business, and you're taking that, and then you run with your own stories, instead of just race swapping, which we all know Marvel Comics have done, and it ruined a lot of their comics. Their sales plummeted, because they just thought they could race swap a bunch of their heroes, but because they were still called, like, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, whatever, that people would just be fine. Well, there are... No. It's about the actual character itself. So a lot of us were just like, why don't you just make a new Slayer series? But, there you go. So, we get an interview with the showrunner. Perhaps we shouldn't be so glib. It sounds like the new Buffy series might have some more serious issues to grapple with. According to 20th Century Fox announcement of the series, the plan is to make the show feel richly diverse. Because instead of having great themes, like I've already discussed, you know, the horrors of growing up through puberty, you know, becoming from a child to an adult, the rigors of high school and your perception of life in high school, it's your be-all and end-all, and then realising that when you get out into the big wide world, holy shit, you're probably not prepared for anything. No, never mind any of that relatable stuff. Let's just play identity politics. That's going to be a surefire way to drag people into the show, because if they don't watch it, you can then call them all a bunch of racists. Midnight Texas creator Monica... Oh, God, if she's... my goodness me, if she's married to Neil Breen. I'm just going to call her Monica Breen, wife of Neil, because then it's just going to make everything even worse. Will be the showrunner on our new series, and she's certainly said all the right things no, about what's driven her to be part of the project. Now, this is why I made the video. When you listen to what she says, I howled with laughter, because this is how she starts it. For some genre writers, it's Star Wars. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my Star Wars. That's great. That's fine. Seriously, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah, Buffy was your bag. I get it. I understand. I couldn't miss an episode. I told you. I couldn't miss an episode. Before I became a writer, I was a fan. That's good. For 7 seasons, I watched Buffy Summers grow up, find love, kill that love, find other love, kill a lot of people, lose her mother. I watched her fight and struggle and slay. There is only one Buffy. Remember this, people. There is only one Buffy. One Xander, one Willow, Giles, Cordelia, Oz, Tara, Kendra, Faith, Spike, Angel. They can't be replaced. This is the showrunner for Buffy. There's only one of those characters and they can't be replaced, and we're rebooting the series. It's as if she knows it's doomed for failure. Joss Whedon's brilliant and beautiful series can't be replicated. Exactly. This is, believe it or not, folks, sense. She's making a lot of sense. This is why people don't want the reboot. You want to go off and do something else. New Slayer, new city, new everything. Well, it's got to be, because Somerville? No. What was it called? Can't remember. Just got thrown into the Hellmouth, didn't it, at the end of the 7th series. So this whole thing is wrapped up richly diverse. Black lead is literally a race bait. That's all it is. And you've just admitted to it. Never mind. Okay, let's carry on. Because she says some other good stuff. I wouldn't try to, but here we are. There's only one of them. They can't be replicated. It can't be reproduced. I wouldn't try to, but I'm gonna. Oh, priceless. Absolutely priceless stuff. Here we are 20 years later, and the world seems a lot scarier. Well, 9/11 did change some things, absolutely. But Buffy didn't finish to 2003, I believe. So there would have been at least 2 seasons post 9/11. And I think around 9/11, there was far more fear than there is in current day. But for some reason, it's a lot scarier. So maybe it could be time to meet a new Slayer, and that's all I can say. Yeah, a new one that isn't Buffy. Sure. Yeah, that sounds good to us. But what other details can we glean with the new show? We've cracked the spine on our Watcher's Guide to find out. Here's everything that you need to know. Right, here's everything that you need to know, folks. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's not even a script. This is September, end of September last year. The announcement was July 2018. Over a year later, 14 plus months later, there's not even a script. The only thing they have is we want a Buffy series and we want a black lead. If that isn't the pinnacle of identity politics, if that isn't the pinnacle of the wrong approach to a series, if ever I've seen one, boom. It's right there. There's nothing. Oh, we've pitched possible ideas. Now we're gonna, because there's nothing to discuss whatsoever, we're just gonna start talking about the other good series. Then Digital Spy can't help themselves here. If the show ends up being an examination of race in America, exploring the consequences of the rise of the alt-right, you do know you're talking absolute shite, but okay. Nazi vampires, anyone? And the insidious evil of the current power structures will be happy. After all, if Buffy can fight a mayor, why not a president? 'Cause Orange Man bad. If ever I saw something to just leave it the fuck alone, this would be it. But if they do make it, and the thing is on if look at IMDb. Well, it's meant to come out last year, but it hasn't. And if I just go into series 1, this is awesome. Pilot: a hot chick named Buffy slays vampires. That's it. If this is the reason, if this is what you're going with, identity politic, which it sounds like it is, And you can't build a show off that. It's been proven time and time again. People don't buy into that. People are getting sick and tired of it. We're seeing the plummeting ratings of Doctor Who because it's just a bloody identity politics show now. As well as many others, the CW, the ratings are in the bin compared to what they used to be 5 years ago. And that's nothing to do with streaming services or anything like that. It's clearly the quality, or lack thereof, of the writing, turning the characters into just an identity politic show. It's useless. Useless. Leave Buffy alone. Find your own stuff to ruin. Stop taking things which people love to ruin it, to try and fit your own narrative and agenda. Fuck off. Right, so, hope you enjoyed the vid. I know it is completely out there, but there you go. If you did, do give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below, and I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. If you want to make a show, the first thing that you need to concentrate on is obviously what you want to do with the show, the direction of the show. The second thing is the characters. And black isn't a character, and gay isn't a character, and straight isn't a character, and white isn't a character. Develop personalities. Develop people. Morons. Bye for now.